Hi, I'm Tyra G, your host of Frankly Speaking with Tyra G. Welcome again to our virtual global gathering of phenomenal women and all of you who love them. Yes, you. Mothers, daughters, grand and great-grandmothers, fearsome and generous, humble and honest. Yes, in pursuit of new possibilities and purpose. You know, here we dig deep and we come up real strong. For those of you joining us for the first time, every month we explore a new theme inspired by you. Yes, I said you. We bravely walk into places where tradition has taught us there are some things you just don't talk about, but not at this table. And no matter how hard judgment knocks, it cannot get in. Beloved, here we live beyond the wreckage. Every week we experience, educate, encourage, and empower each other. We share some aha moments and stories that have been left in our pockets for too long. Every week we start right where you are. I am so excited about how this show is progressing. We are in month number 10. It's proof dreams can come true. And y'all know, Frankly Speaking with Tyra G was one of my most precious dreams. I thank God for every remembrance for each and every one of you, for your gifts of authenticity and vulnerability, for your ideas and your presence and your encouragement. You do know I can't do this without you, right? Thank you so very much. You're listening to Radio Fairfax, Virginia, on your TV, computer, or mobile device. And we are webcast worldwide on the internet at www.radiofairfax.org every Saturday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, if you have a date, no worries. You can find us on YouTube, Frankly Speaking with Tyra G. And if you just want to get in touch with me offline, you know how much I like that. I love our chats. You can email me at tyragarlington.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you, Courtney Nero, for composing and performing our theme song for Frankly Speaking with Tyra G. And for naming it, I'm Listening. Our theme these 2 months is and has been courageous conversations. 2 big words, 1 big concept. And sometimes it is so uncomfortable. But for us to get a return on our investment, we're going to have to invest our own authenticity and vulnerability. We're going to have to be perfectly imperfect. And we're going to have to receive and love the information and discussions that we're about to have. We're going to have to think about, deal with, anticipate, and forgive. We're going to have to contemplate, evaluate, learn about, be surprised by, and celebrate. However, we're discovering that information is both the best offense and defense. I have received such great feedback about our first conversations. Miss Sunny Crow revealed her journey as she faced breast cancer not once, but twice. She let us eavesdrop on her courageous conversation she had with herself, her family, her doctors, and her co-workers. Sylvia Washington Jones helped us to understand intergenerational caregiving of a loved one with a developmental disability. Susan Young discussed her daughter and her escape from sex trafficking. Dean Klein discussed his county leadership to prevent and end homelessness. Helenia Bragg, ex-convict, discussed her journey into her current status as role model and mentor. I even jumped into the conversation and shared my lack of courage when I received my unexpected brain tumor diagnosis. I didn't have anything courageous to say except, "What? What do you mean I have a brain tumor?" Well, what we all discovered and agreed to during our shows is that it's difficult sometimes to have a courageous conversation. That's because the feelings, the attitudes, the thoughts that surround it are a process, a journey. It's not an event. It doesn't always happen when it logically should. And sometimes you have to grow into it. Other times, courageous conversations happen in and stay in our heads and in our hearts. Sometimes courageous conversations are dressed in silence. We all have times or seasons when it requires courage to make it just from one step to the next, to take the next step, to say the next word, and to let fear and shame and guilt not demonize our potential to overcome. But for now, for today, we're going to pause in a place where we can be mirrors for one another. Our goal is to better understand topics that don't make it into polite conversations or at dinner tables. We're going to look once again into, beyond, and behind the subject of human trafficking, but this time from the lens of a school-based developed defense for living in such a time as this. To create our common thought space for today and to reintroduce the topic we've discussed twice before, we're going to listen to a published courageous conversation titled, What We All Need to Know About Human Trafficking. I should warn you, this is not easy listening, but one you need to hear. So please receive it with open hearts. 15-year-old Debbie is a middle child in a close-knit Air Force family from suburban Phoenix and a straight-A student, the last person most of us would expect to be forced into the seamy world of sex trafficking. But Debbie, which is not her real name, is one of thousands of our young American girls who authorities say have been abducted and lured in their normal lives and made into sex slaves. While many Americans have heard human trafficking in other parts of the world like Thailand, Cambodia, Latin America, and Eastern Europe, few people know it happens right here in the United States. Debbie's story is particularly chilling. One evening, Debbie said she got an email from a casual friend, Bianca, who asked her to say if she could stop by Debbie's house. Wearing a pair of SpongeBob pajamas, Debbie went outside to meet Bianca, who drove up in a Cadillac with two older men, Mark and Matthew. After a few moments of visiting, Bianca said they were going to have to leave. So I went and I started to give her a hug, Debbie told Primetime. And then that's when they pushed her into the car. And they sped away from her house. Debbie said that one of the men told Bianca to tie her up and said he threatened to shoot Bianca if she didn't do it. She tied up my hands first, and then she put the tape over my mouth, and then she put tape over my eyes, Debbie said. While she was putting the tape on me, Matthew told me if I screamed or acted stupid, he'd shoot me too. So I just stayed quiet. Unbelievably, police say Debbie was kidnapped from her own driveway with her mother, Kirsty, right inside. Back home with her other kids, Kirsty had no idea Debbie wasn't there. I was in the house. It was a confusing night. I had all the kids coming in and out. The last thing she knew was that Debbie had come back. It was just so weird that night. I normally check on all my kids, but that night I didn't. I should have. Debbie said her captors drove her around the streets of Phoenix for hours. Exhausted and confused, she was finally taken to an apartment 25 miles from her home. She said one of her captors put a gun to her head. He goes, "If I shoot you right now, where do you want to be shot? In your head, in your back, in your chest?" Debbie said, and then I hear him start messing with his gun. And he counted to 3 and he pulled the trigger. And then I was still alive, opened my eyes, and I just saw him laughing. Debbie said she was then drugged by her captors and other men, brought into the room, and she was gang raped. Now, this is where education can be the best offense. The FBI estimates that over 100,000 children, young men and young women are trafficked in America today. Now, this is the thing. I want you to park on this. They range from age 9 to 19, with the average age being 11. Do you hear me? 11 years old. And many victims are no longer runaways. They're kids who have been abandoned. Many of them are from what we consider, quote, good families who are lured and coerced by clever predators. Listen to this. These predators are particularly adept at reading children, our children. They know how to get in their heads. They know their vulnerabilities. FBI Director Assistant Chip Burns stated he's also the starter of the Lost Innocence Project. He specializes in child and sex trafficking. And he said, these predators are going where our kids are. What you can see time and time again is that the predators will adapt their means to whatever young people are doing. Are you listening to this? Whether it's malls, whether it's ski slopes, whether it's beaches, whether it's online. After a break, we'll meet not one, but two dedicated, committed, and visionary women, both teachers. They have walked right into this dark space labeled sex trafficking and are empowering young men and women to critically think and creatively problem solve social issues and challenges that may become a slippery slope into the darkness. When we come back, we'll join these two brave women at a table set with compassion and love. You want to stay close now. And we are back. Let's talk. Welcome, Meesh Peters and Jessica Ittayem. I'm learning new names and emphasis.
You did great.
Oh, ladies, I tell you what. We're going to do something a little different because I have two guests. They are cohorts and colleagues, and they have a common goal. And I gave the show to them. I asked them to produce their own introduction to the topic, and I'm going to hand it over to you now, ladies.
Great, thank you. Well, I'm Meesh Peters, as we said, and I'm the International Baccalaureate Program leader at our school at Poe Middle School here in Fairfax County.
I'm Jessica Ittayem, and I am a STEAM teacher at Poe Middle School, also in Fairfax County. I also hold a girls' club after school.
So our school is very internationally based. So just to give some demographics for your audience, just kind of give you a kind of the why about what we're doing and why we're doing it. Is we have a very diverse population at our school. So per se, about 35% of our children are English as a second language learners. And then we are about 50-50 population in male versus female. And we also, about 75% of our students are in free and reduced lunch. So
what does that mean?
Means that they're socioeconomically disadvantaged, as would be the label.
Okay.
So, it's a very interesting and challenging at sometimes, but a very celebration kind of experience that we have at our school, too, with having so much diversity.
Is that normal in Fairfax County to have that kind of demographic profile? First of all, what grades?
Oh, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay, so we're talking middle school.
Yeah, we're talking about just those things that you're saying in your story.
11-year-old.
Really imperative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So, what our international and national audience needs to understand is Fairfax County, although it may be one of the top 3 richest counties in the world, it's also affluent when it comes to diversity. And the colors of the rainbow I find exciting visually. I remember when I worked a bit for the county, I walked into situations, a school situation, I could hear 78 different languages in one day. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine it's like a UN. But what challenges does that kind of population present?
I would say all kinds, all types, and it could be from hunger to just not having anything to be a part of or associated with for an after-school activity or something to just be a part of.
So what I'm hearing you say is belonging is a major issue. Mm-hmm. Survival, I heard you say hunger, is a major issue. Now, in my pea brain, those two things makes a child vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're talking about people preying on our vulnerable children. Now, Jessica, I want you to talk a little bit about this club. Why? Why did you do this?
All right. To give you some background on the why, I've always had a girls' club, an unofficial girls' club, since I started working at the school. 2 years ago, on one of the snowy days that I was at home, I started watching a documentary, and it sparked me to do some research, and I ended up reading a book that also came along with the documentary, and I realized how women around the world, girls around the world, had less and fewer options.
Yes.
And working at a school such as ours, I just put the two and two together, and I said, I can make this a personal project, but I can also bring it to the girls at my school. I ended up going and attending a women's conference in Fairfax in 2016, and I met a lot of people. I networked, and I ended up making some kind of, I guess it was a friendship slash, just a start of something with an organization called Just Ask and another organization called Days for Girls. And I
Talk about what they are.
So Just Ask, it deals with spreading awareness on the human trafficking issue. Days for Girls helps girls around the world just going to school by creating hygiene kits.
Okay.
And they're sent around the world so girls can go to school.
And who does that? Your club does that, or?
Yes. So once I started researching and getting more information and networking, I proposed the idea to my girls through a presentation, and they saw I was passionate about it. They saw there was a need for it, and so I ended up working with them towards the end of the school year in 2016, and then it went full on after that.
So I hear when I listen to Meesh, she has in her label international, and I'm hearing you say you were prompted to passion by reading stories about the international status of women. How did the two of you come together to have a conversation?
We're just sisters from another mother.
Oh, well, that works.
We are.
We are.
No, we clearly are. We work together, and we're colleagues at work, obviously. And we got to work together on the same team, per se, and got to know each other. And I think just people like us who have that desire and that love of giving to the community and serving are just gravitate naturally to each other with energy and with ideas. And so she and I would pawn ideas and bump ideas off of each other. So I do some programming and do some projects through the Rotary in Southern Africa. And so
And what's Rotary?
Oh, well, Rotary International is a great service organization that does a lot of amazing things around the world. And it's just a really great opportunity for anybody to become involved in the Rotary. It's not just something for men. It's not just something for older people, but it's someone for everybody and lots of opportunities. And I've been bringing our Rotary Club, getting them involved in our school as well. And so when talking to Jessica about her ideas and her passions and kind of bringing that together, since we have a really great gift of richness in our school with having so much cultural diversity, that the kids are coming to us with that understanding of what the world is really like in another place as compared to other schools in the county, right?
Okay, all
So
right.
they only know what another country might be based on a vacation they went on. Our kids know what it is like to live in Guatemala, to live in a refugee camp, things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
They
yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
So that's really great. And then having her group come and talk to me about my project, it kind of became like that point of where you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, it's that feeling like of powerlessness that Jessica did a great job at turning that feeling of powerlessness into power.
I agree.
And empowering the girls to take on something that they can feel passionate about, that they can actually really make a difference in the world. And then that turns into them helping on the outside, that then vacuums in on the inside.
Now, Jessica, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Okay? We're going to role play. All right. I'm walking into the school. I'm in 7th grade. I'm a transfer. And I'm one of those who are vulnerable. But somehow I wander into one of your after school meetings. What will I hear? What will you say to me to make me feel included and wanting to come back a second time, thinking maybe there's something there for me? How do you, what would be the words?
Well, a typical meeting usually runs with an inspirational quote. So they see, they read it to themselves. We talk about what it means. We break it down and then apply it to the day's work. For instance, if you're doing the Just Ask, that week of campaigning, it relates to that week. And then we talk about how the girls, not just themselves, but other girls they've never met,
Okay.
how what they're doing, the project, will not only help them, but the generation after and family members and other people around them. So we always have an open table so the girls that come new or have been there feel comfortable to talk about whatever topics that they feel like they need to get out, sort of like a venting session.
So once you do the quote, it's kind of like open table, and whatever, somebody can just throw it out there. And you have built a community of young women who are comfortable enough exchanging ideas.
Yes.
Can you get like people talking about their anxieties and fears about things?
Oh, yes, all the time.
Oh, that is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Well, then how did you, sex trafficking is pretty uncomfortable. So you don't just walk in and say, hey, today we're going to talk about sex. How did you introduce that?
Well, after talking to the organization, they prepared me with flyers and educational items that they usually give to family members. And so what I did is I teach, so I turned it into a PowerPoint and scaled it down. So then I partnered up also with some of the PE teachers because now it's part of the family life education curriculum.
Now don't just slide that in. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
Because to make change within education is not easy. I did a show on that earlier this year. So we got to put a comma there. How did you do that?
Partnering up with the health teachers, is that it?
Okay. Yeah. How you got it as part of the curriculum?
It's embedded. So Fairfax, it's part of their curriculum. So it's
Okay.
Fairfax County developed that. So it's part of it's already in there.
Okay.
And it's a small little piece for sure. So it's something to definitely jump off on.
Okay.
It's fairly new, and so I just expanded what they were introducing anyways. And what we did with the girls was just see some of the clips, the videos, to understand and go through some of the emotions that those girls go through. I've had guest speakers come to school. I've had Just Ask, the organization, come to school. We've done a week campaign. So just letting them feel for themselves, and then we talk about it through a reflection.
I think too, it's also been in the press a lot lately in our county.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I think, with anything that's in something that the kids see in the radio or the news, kids bring all that kind of stuff to school and they have questions about it and they don't know who to ask. And particularly our population where a lot of our parents work very hard. They work odd hour shifts. A lot of these, 11, 12-year-olds are like the oldest siblings. So they're taking care of their younger siblings.
Yes, I was thinking that.
And let's be honest, they see things in their community as well. And that they have questions about, and they are kind of wondering, or they might be, who knows.
And how do you figure out, right? Let's stay right there a second. You talked about a student population that may not have cultural competence when it comes to living in America. So the cues that they may see, they have to translate that from their lens. So they may not know when they're being seduced or what have you, right?
Well, and also to remember they're 11. And
Yes,
that perception
yes.
of attention is very different from the lens of a 16, 17, 18-year-old from a 10, 11-year-old.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. That's putting a face, I call it an audio face, on a problem. And I want you to go back and say again, yeah, Fairfax County may be one of the wealthiest counties in the United States. It's also ranking very high in human trafficking. And two things I heard, and I want to make this clear. Fairfax County Board of Education has said this is significant. So they put a stamp of approval of using the language. It's a part of the curriculum. Jessica, what I hear you saying is you took that as an opening. Am I right?
Correct.
And then you grew it. Okay. So, wow. what are some of the barriers? I mean, this just wasn't happy talk. What are some of the things you run into that get in the way of being what you'd like it to be in the future?
I think first most you have to have support from the principal, from colleagues that want to help and shed light on the issue. Parents also have to get notified. I had to send a permission slip home about the topics, just like you have to for FLE. And so I got nothing but support. I was very thankful that the kids, well, the girls, were understanding, and they went home and talked about it at dinner, which meant that they kept spreading the word. And then, if parents or other siblings go and keep talking about it, it's being talked about.
Okay, now I'm going to mess with this. Many of the students, English is a second language. How are you translating this message? Because some of the young people I work with in Fairfax County, they were the only ones in their family that spoke English. And particularly, I remember in the Asian communities where the child had to bring the parents to the school for teacher-student meetings. They had to translate what the teacher was saying. And then I had one occasion where the child had to go to the doctor with the grandparents, which was a total no-no in Asia. So this is what I'm talking about. Cultures get all mixed up. So if they're going home, they're going to have to translate the message they're hearing in school to their parents so they receive it. Okay.
We have an immense amount of support at our school. I mean, our administration is very supportive. I mean, our principal is a Spanish speaker, so that's really great. We have a really great family liaison support system. Fairfax County's got a lot of support systems to translate things in multitude of languages. So it's not like, we're just trusting kids to go home and say
I
what
want
they're
you to
doing.
talk about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I mean, we need to make it first and foremost it's a safe environment for kids. And so, we want to remember that we're not having good intentions and poor execution, right? So that's the
yes.
utmost, because we want to make it a safe place. It's still school. We still have to focus on school and have that be our priority.
Yes.
Right? But I think, just with having that support from our administration, having support from the parents, having support from the family liaisons, having support from other teachers, really maintaining that as a safe place. And I think also, Jessica does a really great job at making sure that her focus is very targeted. So it doesn't go off track where it goes to like maybe a questionable or unsafe place. Like it has a target, it has a purpose.
Very structured.
It's very
Staying
structured.
within the boundaries.
Absolutely.
Do you have mentoring around this? Do you have mentors coming into the school? I mean, if somebody were listening and they wanted to be supportive of what you were trying to do, is that a possibility? Or, I mean, you'd have to do a lot of screening, I would think, of who those.
Fairfax County does have an immense amount of screening for people to come in and volunteer,
Right.
which is a great thing, because that
Right.
in itself is keeping children safe.
Absolutely.
And so that's just a wonderful thing. But, volunteers are always something that the school system is looking for. We have guest speakers. Jessica does a great job at finding guest speakers coming in, especially women, strong women who come in and speak about their trials and tribulations, but also their celebrations and their growth, to show the kids of where they came from, where they can be. Kind of like that, just because you're in the dark doesn't mean that you're in the dark. Sometimes it's because you're planted.
Absolutely. Say that again.
What's that quote? It's something I always say. It's something about like, sometimes when you feel like you're being buried, you're not being buried, you're being planted. And so it's actually an opportunity to grow.
And that's the language I have found most comfortable to use. And that is the language of encouragement and the language of empowerment, engaging. And I discovered, I was a principal of a school where everybody was adjudicated. And I discovered the true meaning of expectations. If there's a mutual respect growing and you expect that person to behave a certain way and to change and become prosperous, it works. So I'm guessing that same feeling is being executed in your school. So if there I go again. I need to take a short break.
Okay.
Everybody, stand by. I'm going to behave now. And we are back. I got an A for effort. Sometimes I forget that second commercial. Anyway, I was thinking as I was listening to the commercials, a couple of questions I had. And they're kind of dreamer questions because you all are living in this environment. So I'm going to give each one of you a blank check. And I'd like to know what you'd like to do with it to improve, grow, change, make different this program that you have, the empowering of women, etc. Both of you chime in what you got going on in your heads.
I would like to have more teacher involvement, and then embark on not just one project, many projects to reach more people and have more kids involved, because currently we don't have many teachers with the girls club or boys club, because now we involve the boys into our ideas. So if we have more funds, I'm assuming we would have more opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hands down, I would take the kids on experiences and have them go out there and be the voice of action, and get them out there and take them. And when we're doing the Days of Girls, bring them to Swaziland with me so they can pass out those hygiene kits. Bring them to Guatemala and have them build those things, and have our boys club. Our boys club launched with Jessica's Girls Club, and these boys are advocating for the rights of these women and these girls.
Wait.
I know, right?
Stop. Okay. I raised two boys, and in middle school, they were not advocating for any women. What are you telling me?
Well, let me tell you. So we had a gentleman's club for a
Okay.
few years in our school, which was a bunch of our male teachers teaching these boys how to be gentlemen.
Okay.
And so that kind of grew. And then with Jessica's empowerment group, and you chime in, like they just kind of were figuring out what they were doing with the anti-human trafficking and things like that, and female empowerment. And they got really involved, saying, and as men, we need to be supporting these women too, because these women are going to grow up to be our mothers, our daughters, our nieces, our wives, our everything, right? And so they kind of started looking out and saying, wow, these people are being human trafficked. We can't let that happen. And to me, that was an exciting part, to watch these boys kind of see that and acknowledge that they're part of the problem too. And so if they're not willing to go out and purchase these goods per se, then those goods aren't going to be for sale anymore, right? And so they're a key to this problem too. And so the boys got really involved with doing fundraising.
They did. That was this year 2 of our project, and so that second year we did so well. We got recognized by the Fairfax Board of Supervisors, and Poe got recognized for their work.
I don't think we've given propers to your school name.
Oh, it's Poe Middle School.
I'm thinking we have talked all around it, and they probably think, well, maybe it's a virtual school. I don't know.
It's very real.
Bricks and mortar. Okay.
Yes.
How many students are there in your school?
A little over 900.
That's a nice size middle school.
It is. It's a really great size.
That is wonderful. Okay, so you've got growth in teacher participation. Now, I'm thinking there's probably need for training if you're going to be bringing in more teachers, more mentors, more parents. Are those experts to do the training available? If you wanted to do what you said, your dream.
We would have to obviously partner up with the organizations to come in, and we would work more closely together. With Just Ask, we worked really closely. We've had opportunities for them to come in, guide us, help us with our weekly campaigns. And so definitely we would need their help, or any organization.
So collaborations, partnerships, that's a way to magnify and to leverage impact. I know that. What else? You've got this blank check. What are you doing? You've got more teachers. You've taken them to Swaziland.
I can't say enough of how, and maybe it's just my passion that I have of just seeing kids around the world and seeing how kids are kids no matter where you are, right? And so I had the opportunity, I was in Swaziland for an extended trip 2 years ago when we started the Days for Girls program, the Just Ask. And because of my experience with Jessica and her teaching me and educating me, I was able to take that knowledge and I brought it to Swaziland, and actually was talking to the girls there, because we all know human trafficking happens around the world.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Right? And so I was talking to these girls about being empowered. And what was really great about that is that just kind of changed things in Swaziland too, is because working through the Rotary and working with all sorts of organizations, we really kind of developed some legislative change. And Swaziland just passed a human rights for women vote this
Say it
week.
again.
They just passed women's rights in Swaziland. just this week.
I know.
So it's very exciting. So
it is.
yeah. But
For people that don't know where Swaziland is, can you put it on a
sure,
globe?
it's in South. It's if you look at South Africa and you look at South Africa and it has the two little blips. One's Lesotho and one's Swaziland. Swaziland borders Mozambique and
Okay,
and South
Mozambique.
Africa.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it's very small and it's a kingdom with an absolute ruler for a king.
Uh-huh.
It's a polygamous country.
Uh-huh.
But I don't want to go off tack there. But you know what was really cool is when I was there for my extended trip, the girls at Poe and the boys at Poe were making these Days for Girls hygiene kits, and so they were dyeing undies and cutting out these sanitary napkins and things like that
they needed it.
they needed. And then I was able to take those kits that those kids made at Poe Middle School in Fairfax County, and I was able to bring them to Third World Africa and hand them to real girls who really needed them.
Oh my gosh. Now, was there an exchange girls to girls organizations? Was there a thank you, a handshake, or letters?
There was.
Well, it was really fun. We had Wi-Fi, so when I was there, I got the Wi-Fi. And we actually had the girls on the iPad FaceTiming each other, and they were singing songs to each other. And to me, it was this beautiful sisterhood that was developed between multiple cultures around the oceans. It was a little tricky with the time changes and things like that, but it was just so beautiful to see my girls in Swaziland, our girls here at Poe, celebrating each other and becoming sisters, never meeting each other, probably will never meet each other. But that didn't matter in that moment. That was that moment of females, women coming together, seeing endless possibility. And to me, there's such energy and joy in that.
Yes.
Because so many of us experience with women, especially, and I don't know what it is that, we're so competitive, and we tend to kind of fight against each other, and that's kind of a lot of times that's fed into cultural and things like that. And to be the kind of women like Jessica and I try to be, of just being like, let's rise each other up, let's build each other up and see what we can do, because women, we can do anything. There's nothing to stop us. And so if we can have
excuse
that
me,
culture,
say that again.
Nothing can stop us.
Nothing can stop us.
And so if we build that culture amongst them, that acceptance and that ability of just positive power and energy can change the world. And to me, that's what I would like if I had that check of getting boys and girls to work together to make this world a better place and giving them this experience. Because a lot of the kids at our school, they may be international, but the only international they know is the small village they came from, wherever, and Annandale.
Yes.
Many of our kids have never been to D.C.
I know.
Have never been to a museum, and like, to me, there's so much to the world out there, and there's so much we can all give and contribute instead of just being a vacuum. And that's what I would love to have.
And I probably did both of you a disservice by saying if you had a blank check. I probably should have said if you were magnified Wonder Women, because you are Wonder Women, what would you do? Because it isn't really based on money. It's based on modeling behavior and attitudes. And I think a lot of times you can have all the money in the world thrown at a problem. But if you can't change the attitude, even if you legislate the behavior, you haven't gone anywhere. Yeah. And I think women have more power than we can imagine, particularly if it's up to us to grow the world.
Well, my grandma always used to say, men are the head, but women are the neck.
I like
and the
it.
neck controls the head. And I think it's really about the 3 T's, right? Time, treasures, and talents.
Yes.
And those are the 3 things that need to happen to make anything work, and they have to work in collaboration with each other.
Yes. And I got a visual picture of the handshake between South Africa and Annandale, Virginia. And what my prayer is about this show is, though I can't feel the handshake, I hope the people listening can hear the spirit and feel the spirit. That my goal is to spend this hour every week encouraging and empowering and offering education through information. I don't know. I'm full up right now. I'm going to throw it back to you. I gave you an assignment, which now I want everybody to listen to this. These are teachers. Now, I talked to them last week. I sent them information. I wrote them again. They had an assignment. They sat in the studio. I said, so did you do? No. Now, what grade do you think I should give them? They're sitting here biting their fingers right now. They are. So how are you all going to rectify this? You didn't write a letter to your younger self. Do you have messages you'd like to share or give?
We are going to own it. Like we would want our students to own it, saying
That's
we
true.
did not, and we apologize.
And what are you going to do about it?
Because we're going to be genuine and authentic with our answers.
Okay, I want to hear this.
All right, so Jessica.
I love it. Jessica?
If I could give one message. It's a
No,
message-
no, you don't get away with one message.
It's impactful.
Okay.
It's what I say to my girls. Just be who you are. And when they come into my room, I set the environment so they feel like they can have that safe space.
Okay.
And they can talk to me, and we can grow together from our experiences, our projects, whatever we're embarking on, and just understand that what I'm teaching them is priceless. The gratitude, the emotions, everything that they go through with these projects. It's not just them, it's not just me, it's everyone they're impacting. So words, just your words, your actions, be mindful and make sure whatever you're doing it with a passion and it's meaningful.
What would they say to you?
They probably would say the same thing because they know how passionate I am about these topics and these projects. They know that to me, sending this message not just to them or their family, it means something. It's a part of me. It's my own personal project. And so for them, if they see their role models being passionate, why shouldn't they? And that's what we see.
So, it's 5 years from now, and I've heard what you said. It's become a part of me. What are you doing?
I'm doing it. I'm doing what I set out to do. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did have a girls' club, 9 years ago. Just recently, it just dawned on me, why not have that purpose? And while I'm teaching, empower them and give them the tools so they can do it. And I want to keep doing it for as long as I can.
All right. Okay, so you got, is it 10, 11, and 12? No, 11.
6th, 7th, and 8th.
No, I'm ages.
Yeah. Like 10, 11 to 13 year
13,
olds.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So that is very impressionable. Okay, Miss Lady, where are you? What country are you in? What words do you have for
right?
us?
I think, if I was speaking of both my goddaughters graduated this year, and I've had a lot of thought of just thinking and reflecting on my own life and thinking about how, when you're younger, you always think about everybody else has got it perfect. Or, and you have your own trials and tribulations and you internalize those things thinking, if this didn't happen to me, what could be? And, I start thinking about like everything in my life. Some of it has not been pleasant, but it's all had a purpose.
Yes.
And then in retrospect, you realize 10, 15 years later, when you're talking to people, you realize those people who you thought had perfect lives didn't. It wasn't perfect. They just were covering it up or like whatever in different ways. And I think about my life and how many blessings I've had and just being present because every day is a gift. And you take risks not to escape life, but to prevent life from escaping.
Yes, I like that. I like that. I like that.
And I think my deepest passion is just going out and being who I'm supposed to be. And I don't know who I'm supposed to be yet. I'm not the youngest chicken in the yard, but I still have energy and I still have a lot to give, and I'm not done yet.
No, you're not.
And I'm okay with that, and I'm secure with that, and I just want, especially the girls, to know that society has these rules that are out there, but rules are made to be broken, and no one says that has to be it. And just because you're not married by a certain age, you don't have kids, or you don't have all those things,
right.
it's okay. Because if I had all those things, I was telling the girls in our group that the other day, I was like, if I had all those things, I wouldn't be able to go to Swaziland or Malawi every year. I mean, I just went to Vietnam for spring break, and I could just leave and go. And so, and I went there to talk about autism and speak about, special needs because that's my jam. So I think, myself in 5 years, my dream would be, my dream, honestly, I would love to be able to open schools and go have a PhD in international education and be an advocate for children with special needs and go around the world and break those barriers of cultural misunderstanding of what disabilities are. If I could do that, my life would have a great purpose.
I'm going to add to that. I heard an interview with Marie Schreiber yesterday, Maria Schreiber, and they were celebrating this book that had come out about her mother. And she was talking about the landscape where everybody focused on the boys, the Kennedy boys, and how Rosemary, the Kennedy daughter with the disabilities, was kind of hidden. And that her mother had said, oh, no, that's not going to be the case, because apparently she was a very good athlete. And as we know, Maria's mother started Special Olympics, and that grew. And Maria was talking, she was so authentic. She says, people look at me, and they said, oh, the perfect life. She was a Kennedy. Her mother, she says, no. If I had a perfect life, I wouldn't be divorced. I wouldn't be sleeping alone. I wouldn't have this and that and the other, going on. And she's just finished her book. And I'm going to do damage on the title, but it has to do with raising the I am in herself now and claiming who she is. And I guess I'm saying that because, Meesh, what you were talking about is the journey, and I only know of one perfect individual ever, and I can't imagine what perfection would feel like. It would be a scary place for me.
Absolutely.
I see my imperfections as gifts and opportunities to grow, and so I really love both of your dreams. I do, and so I'm not going to give you a bad grade for not doing your homework.
Whew, thank you.
Yes. I know. One thing I love to do each time we're together is to offer a spiritual doggy bag. There are days during the week where we go, you know what, I'm tired of being tired. And there are other times we go, you know what, no, I don't want to do that. Or you may ask, really? Is this all there is? And so I try to find something for you to hang on to. And I discovered this poet. I love this. Her name is Sarah Kay. And her style and content resonated with me because this particular poem I'm going to share with you speaks to women and how we find ourselves in places that are unfamiliar or inexcusable or require forgiveness. And the poem is called The Type. And I've only pulled a little bit so I don't bore everybody, but I'd like to share it with you now.
Okay.
If you grow up the type of woman men want to look at, you can let them look at you. Don't mistake eyes for hands or windows or mirrors. Let them see what a woman looks like. They may not ever have seen one before. If you grow up the type of woman men want to touch, then you can let them touch you. Sometimes it's not you they're reaching for. Sometimes it's a bottle, a door, a sandwich, a Pulitzer. Another woman, but his hands found you first. Don't mistake yourself for a guardian or a muse or a promise or a victim or a snack. You're a woman, skin and bones, veins and nerves, hair and sweat. You're not made of metaphors, not made of apologies, not made of excuses. Woman, if you grow up the type of woman men want to love, you can let them love you. Being loved is not the same as loving. When you fall in love, it's discovering the ocean. After years of puddle jumping, it's realizing you have hands. It's reaching for the tightrope when the crowds have all gone home. Don't spend your time wondering if you're the type of woman men will hurt. It'll leave a scar on your car alarm heart. You may learn to sing along. It's hard to stop the ocean, even when it's left you gasping salty. Forgive yourself the decisions you've made, the ones you still call mistakes, when you tuck them in at night. And know this: you are the type of woman who is looking for a place to call yours. Let the statues crumble. You have always been the place. You are a woman who can build it herself. You were born to build. I want to add my own encouragement to that and remind you, when in doubt, check your label. You're not a markdown. You're a designer's original. God set your value. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Surround yourself with people who can remind you who you were created to be. You're not alone, and you're not your circumstances. Nothing that has happened to you in your life will be wasted. You have everything you need within you to thrive. Say yes to the power within you. Hey, everybody, your seat is reserved at the table. I can't wait to meet with you again. Thank you so much for tuning in. And guess what? I'm here and I hear you. I love you. This is Tyra G. Bye now.